Hey, what's up there, guys? Getting approved for a hepatitis C cure can be a long and arduous process, and I've been getting a lot of requests for input on how to get approved since a lot of people know that I used to work at an insurance company. And you're in a lot of luck if you're in the situation, because I am an expert at getting these drugs approved. About half of my job responsibilities now involved getting people approved for these drugs. And of course, I used to work at an insurance company, so I did approvals from that perspective as well. So you will be unlikely to find a bigger expert than myself on this subject. So what I want to do here is try to help you. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the gold standard for approvals for these types of drugs, whether they be Harvoni, Viekira, Daklinza, Sovaldi, and for many other things that are coming out in the market soon. For now, until the guidelines change, this is what the gold standard is going to be. So first, what do I mean by the gold standard? So in order to get approved for one of these hepatitis C drugs, you need to meet the insurance company's criteria, and the criteria is going to vary from company to company. But if you meet this gold standard, if you meet these particular set of criteria, it won't matter which insurance company you go to, you will always be approved 100 times out of 100 for one of these drugs. It may not be the drug that you want, but you will be approved for it, and we'll discuss later how to make sure to get the drug that you want in a different video, if that sort of thing interests you. But there are 6 things that you're going to need for a hepatitis C drug approval. Number 1, you're going to need genotype testing. And what the genotype is, it determines the particular strain of virus that you have. And depending on the genotype, it's going to determine what set of drugs are going to be effective and which ones are going to be not effective. Some drugs are approved for just one genotype, others are approved for 4 or more, or all of them, as some will be in the future. Second, what you're going to need is a viral load. Just quantify the amount of virus that is in your blood. The amount is really not so important, as long as it's not like 0. Thirdly, what you're going to need is a creatinine test. And what that is going to do is determine the level of clearance that your kidneys have. Basically, it's just an assessment of how healthy your kidneys are. If your kidneys are too damaged, or if you have end-stage renal disease, then you won't be approved for the drugs because they just won't work. These next 2 reasons are the biggest stumbling blocks as far as denials are concerned. I estimate about 95% of all denials come from one of these next 2 things. Number 1, you need a Metavir score of F3 or F4. And what the Metavir score is a scaling system measuring the amount of fibrosis that the liver has undergone. F0 being no fibrosis, F4 being the maximum score, meaning cirrhosis. If you have F3 or F4, you're going to get approved very easily, and you're just going to go on to the next step. Now, if you don't have an F3 or F4 Metavir score, don't worry. There are a lot of insurance companies that accept F2, and I've gotten people approved who are F0, F1, F2. So this is where the doctor's office is going to get creative, and that's where they're going to come up with reasons why you shouldn't have to wait. And that's where a major part of my job is. That's why I'm really good at what I do, is I get people approved even though they don't necessarily meet the criteria. So that is one of the major reasons for denial. If they require F3 or F4 and you can't find a good reason why they should look past that, then you're going to get denied. So that is one of the major stumbling blocks. The next one is related to the Metavir score, because the next step is the type of test that is giving the Metavir score. So there are several ways of getting a Metavir score. There are a whole host of tests that can measure liver fibrosis. But what I'm going to do here, again, is give you the gold standard. There are many different tests that work and that are accepted, but if you have one of these 2 things, you will always be accepted no matter where you go. If you have a liver biopsy that measures the Metavir score, or if you have a FibroScan. And the reason that these ones are the gold standard is because they are the most accurate. Now, there are other tests. You can get MRIs, you can get sonograms, you can get a fibro test, which is another fibrosis measuring test. Some insurance companies I've seen will even take your doctor's word for it, so you don't even need to get a test. But again, if you have a liver biopsy or a FibroScan, which is not the same as fibro test, make sure that there's FibroScan and then there's fibro test. FibroScan is the one that's more accurate than fibro test. Those 2 will always be accepted. And again, you need to check your insurance company's plans and determine what kind of test is accepted, because there are a lot of people that have been doing fibro test, and they keep getting denied, and they're just wasting their money because they need to get FibroScan or a liver biopsy, so they have to pay again. So make sure you figure out what type of test is accepted and then use that. It's generally better to get one that's not a liver biopsy or a FibroScan because the other ones are less accurate. And often what I've seen is for some plans that have only accept liver biopsy or FibroScan, we've had a fibro test and it said F3, F4, and they didn't accept that, and then we went ahead and got a FibroScan and it said F1. So that's the reason why some insurance companies will only accept one of those two things, because they are the most accurate. Lastly, what you'll need is a urinary drug screen, and I say this one last because this is the one you want to do last, because generally what you'll need is to have a urinary drug screen within the last 30 days. So if you do the urinary drug screen early and then you do all those tests after, you probably have to do it again. So the urinary drug screen is just to see if you've been taking drugs or alcohol, and whether it's positive or negative is really unimportant. If it's negative, then it's fine, then you're at the end of the line. But if it's positive, it won't bar you from getting the drug, but what you'll have to provide in addition is that you're receiving counseling for either alcohol abuse or drug abuse, one or the other. So that's the only thing. So there you have it. That's the gold standard. If you meet this criteria, you will be approved for hepatitis C treatment 100 times out of 100. Now, it's important to remember that just because you're approved for hepatitis C treatment doesn't mean you'll be approved for the drug that you want. There are a lot of different drugs out there, and there are a lot of new ones coming to the market soon. Some of the drugs have very mild side effects, and some of them have very intense chemotherapy-like side effects. And I can do videos on those too if you would like. But this is not about that, and of course getting the drug that you want approved is an entirely different process, and I can help you out with that as well. But this is just going to be about the gold standard. If you don't meet that criteria, don't worry. All I'm trying to do with this gold standard is just to give you a benchmark, a point of reference. This is what gets approved 100 times out of 100. And what it's designed to do is just to help you navigate your way through the approval process. Just to be able to tick off boxes. Okay, I got my viral load, got my genotype, got my urinary drug screen, I've got a Metavir score, where is it from? And then it will be able to better help you see if you're getting denied. Of course, if you meet the gold standard, you're not going to have a problem getting denied. So really, this is not for people who meet the gold standard. It's for people who are getting denied. And what it will help show you are the areas that you need to work on. If it's denied for the Metavir score, then you need to go back to your doctor's office and say, okay, well, how can we circumvent this? How can we fix this problem, right? Or if it's the type of test, then we can say, okay, well, I don't want to do this test because I'm going to waste my money. Let's go ahead and do this test, right? So that's all it's really designed to do. And again, I'd say about half the people that I approve do not meet the gold standard criteria. So I would not worry at all. So a quick recap. Genotype test, viral load, kidney function test, Metavir score, type of test that determines Metavir score, and then the urinary drug screen. Those are the 6 things you need for a hepatitis C drug approval. If you have any additional questions, let me know. Like I said, I'm an expert in this subject. I probably know more than even the doctor as far as the approval process is concerned. I would definitely say I do, just because I've worked on both sides. Worked on the approval side, on the doctor's office side, and then I worked at the insurance company. So if you have any additional questions, let me know. I'd love to help, because I know people have struggled with this for a long, long time, and it's one of the most frustrating things in the world to deal with. Even me, for having worked at an insurance company, they still frustrate the hell out of me. So let me know if you have absolutely any questions. And until then, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.